Hello, everyone, and welcome in. I hope everyone is doing good today. I see TWP Popcorn popped over to say what's up and saying that, listen, another night in paradise. I know that's right. And Joshua Gabriel is here. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. New Horizons above and beyond. Welcome in. Welcome in. I hope that everyone had a great day. It is Wednesday night, April 16th. It is one of the best dates of the year. And I just wanted to come on here. And as you can see from the title, I'm talking about be careful what you ask for. And a lot of times when we hear that, be careful what you ask for, we think about it in a negative way. People, they may complain, they may be disgruntled, they may wish for something to no longer be. And you have to be careful because next thing you know, that thing will be taken away, that situation will no longer be yours, and people look around and say, wait a minute, I didn't really want it to leave. I really just wanted to have it around so I can complain. So a lot of things in life can definitely turn around if you just change the narrative. Now, before I dive deep in, I'm going to just pull some people's chats up. I appreciate you for being here again and saying hello to everyone. And listen, spring is in the air. I hope that wherever you are, that you have experienced some beautiful weather this week. It hasn't been too hot, hasn't been too cold. The weather has been just perfect. Oh my goodness. Especially here in the Carolinas. Today was 70, tomorrow is going to be 70. And in Charlotte, when it's 70, that is like one of the most perfect days. Oh my goodness. So, wherever you are, I hope that you have been enjoying the time, taking a moment to step outside and just being one with nature. They always say those tree huggers, they tend to have very relaxing lives, and, walking barefoot in the grass and just being one with nature is always a good thing. But again, this topic is be careful what you wish for. Now, like I was saying, it's really interesting when you hear people complain, and a lot of times they're complaining about the same thing. They may just happen upon a new item, a new situation, a new person, and immediately they look for the holes to poke into it. They look for the things, the negative things to find in it, and that's what they focus on. They talk about what they don't like about it, what they don't want to do, what they're not going to do. And then once it's taken away from them, they're looking around and saying, wait a minute, why did you take that from me? Why isn't that not here? I was talking to someone this evening about something like that, and she was talking about a person on her team and how they were complaining about their workload and saying that, oh, I don't have enough hours in a day. I'm overworked, underpaid. I don't understand why all these assignments are coming to me. I can't, keep up, and it's becoming stressful. And I just don't know why I'm getting things that's not even in my job description. Like, what's really going on? And let me tell you, they finally found someone that can assist that person. And they told them, listen, start to divvy up your work, your workload, and give it to this other person to assist you with the work. And they became so furious. What do you mean give my work to this other person? This is my work. I don't want anyone else doing my work. That's not right. Why am I being picked on? What's going on? They have to be careful for what they wish for. And that's how it is. People complain, complain, complain. And when a solution is presented to them, when a new way of doing things is presented to them, then they go, come kicking and screaming, talking about, why are you doing this? Why are these changes being made? Well, you were just saying how overworked you were and how underpaid you were, or how overwhelmed you were. And now that we have this solution, you no longer want to have any of that. You want to continue to move the way that you were moving. And, when I hear stories like that, and I hear them often, some people just want to complain just to complain. And, in the past, I found myself doing that a couple of times too. And then you start to realize, you know what? In this moment, the common denominator is me. And so I have to see what else can I do that's better? How else can I look at this situation so that it's not giving me that unwarranted stress? And let me see, New Horizon is talking about her day in central Missouri. And, I lived in St. Louis. I don't know if is St. Louis considered central Missouri? I'm not sure, but I know we lived there for one season and I loved it. And one of the reasons why I loved St. Louis, it's one of my favorite cities out of all the cities that we've lived in. I loved St. Louis because of the people. The people there were so nice, so inviting and welcoming. And I just really enjoyed my time there. For me, when it comes to time, it's about quality and not quantity. So many people are like, oh, I was just in a live actually. I forget whose live it was, but they were saying that they lived in a place for I think maybe like 90 days or something like that, or 6 months. 90 days or 6 months. And they were wondering if that would be considered living there. It was a short time and they just were like, I don't know if I would consider myself having lived there. But I'm like, if it's more than 30 days, I feel like you do live there, you know? And so you make roots everywhere you go. And if you're at any place for any amount of time, you've been connected with the people, the places, and the things that are there. I feel like you that's part of you. Your footprint has been there, it's solidified. And so yeah, Central Missouri, I wonder how far St. Louis is, or is that considered central? If you can let me know. New Horizons, above and beyond, I would appreciate that. And I see Lisa J. Stocks walked in. Hello to you. And I hope you having a good evening tonight. And TW Popcorn is saying hello and saying St. Louis East is East Missouri. Okay. All right. So that's the east side of Missouri. All right. So what are some of the towns that are central Missouri then? What are some of those towns? I wonder. But yeah, St. Louis was a really welcoming town. The people, oh, I just loved them so much. I remember I cried like a baby when we left. I was telling my husband because he didn't sign a new contract with them. They offered him a new contract, but he declined it. And I was like, why would you do that? We're so happy here. I love it here. But we ended up going to New Orleans after that. And, had great memories there. That's where our first child was born. So everything works out for the better, for the good, as long as you just trust the process and trust the people that are part of that process too. And I definitely trusted him and making those decisions, regarding his career and what was next. That's the thing, when you're in a relationship and, you have your profession, your career, or what have you, and, be it you or the other person, you have to trust each other with the decisions that you make. You know what the situation is, what's to come, what the industry is calling for and what your worth is. So when you make those decisions, of course you want to talk it over with your partner, but at the same time, the person that's involved, truly involved, you have to trust them for sure. Okay, let's see. You're saying Jefferson City. Is it I guess Jefferson City, Columbia, Boonville, or Central? Okay. I've heard of Jefferson, if it's Jefferson or Jeff, but I believe Jefferson City. I've heard of that part, but I haven't heard of the other places like Boonville. Interesting. Okay. So when we also talk about be careful what you ask for, that's when you dare to dream. A lot of people don't, they what they say, closed mouths don't get fed. And if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. I know that's not one of the sayings, but I'm just saying that a lot of people, because of life, because maybe of their beliefs, because maybe different situations just kept their foot on their neck for so long until they stopped asking for what they truly want. You know, they come into that habit of just talking about what they don't want. And in real life, the universe, God, the higher beings, they don't know the difference between don't and do. So when you talk about what you don't want, and then you're shocked because you're getting more of what you don't want, you have to understand that you put it out there. And so when you put it out there, it's like it's attracting it. It's attracting more of that. And so that's why being careful what you ask for is not just being careful of the negative things, it's being more intentional of what you ask for. It's saying, what is it that you want from this situation? And that's some of the things that I talk about when I'm coaching clients. When they come to me, they have a whole laundry list of things that they would love to change. And people can ramble off of what they don't like about themselves, their situations, their relationships, their jobs, their business, whatever the case may be. They can ramble off, oh my goodness. And when you pause them and you say, okay, if everything was in place, if everything was the way that you would love it to be, what would that look like? And that description typically is a lot smaller than the one that is what they don't want. So try and be more intentional. I want you to do that as an exercise. Be more intentional of the things that you do want. So being careful of what you ask for, make sure that those things that you ask for are things that you want in your life, and not so much those things that you don't want in your life. Write them down. Again, I always say this, write it down and make it plain. Definitely get your pen and paper ready so that you can take notes when you come into my lives or watch my videos. But at the same time, use that pen and paper to capture all the things that are going to fill your life with positiveness, with change, with things that are going to help you pivot. And that's really focusing on what you want. Whatever you focus on, you will definitely get more of it. It'll definitely attract those things to you. And that's the part that you want. So when you're trying to be careful in a positive way and not in a negative way. And I'm sure when some of you saw the title, you probably was like, okay, what is she going to say? Maybe your thoughts went to the negative automatically. And a lot of times that happens, the when you hear be careful, don't go there, stop right there, and things like that. And you may have even gotten tricked on some videos where it says, before you go, I've seen this like recently. It was like, before you go to, I don't know, I'm gonna say Marshalls. I forget what the store was, but before you go to Marshalls, you have to watch this video first. And I didn't watch it, but I was just like, I know that's probably, just some type of hook to get you to come in and watch the video. And they're probably going to just tell you about maybe some great deals that they have or whatever. But sometimes if a person sees a title like that, they'll think, oh my goodness, doom and gloom. What is it that I shouldn't be going to that store for? It's probably a bad thing, whatever. So when I had in this title, it wasn't meant to be a hook for you. It's just that the conversation that I had earlier, it really provoked this type of topic because it's a double-edged sword. Be careful of what you ask for. It could be a positive or a negative. The things that you don't want, you again will find more of it. You say, oh, I hate this job, I don't want this job, I wish that the boss would change, I wish that I didn't have so much work to do. And then when you get that, you're like, oh, wait, you get a new boss that may be even worse. You get into a situation that may really not even fit your whole entire schedule. You might have your whole shift or whatever you work may change, and it'll be in a situation that really is not favorable to you. And you start to realize what you had was not that bad. So that's why the things that you have, even if it's not totally what you hope for or want or whatever at the moment, you still need to find the things in it that you could wish for, that are positive, that are good, that you can glean some type of nugget from. What is it? What did you enjoy about it? What are you learning from it? It's always something that you can learn for sure. And New Horizons is saying, I'm trying to focus on a lot of things, but it's all positive stuff. And that's good. And that's what I'm saying. It's all about the narrative. And the narrative is what you tell yourself, is what you allow yourself to absorb. And that's from other people, what they're saying. If you are around a lot of naysayers that are sitting around I guess, what they used to call the break room or the coffee pot, now that COVID is over, a lot of break rooms and stuff are not even in existence because people aren't necessarily going in like that anymore. But whatever it is, it could be in your personal circle with your family and friends, whatever the case. If you're sitting around a lot of naysayers that are only pointing out the negative of things, that are not, filling your conversations with positive things, that's another example of being careful what you wish for, because now you're filling yourself, your mind, your mental, your spirit, your emotions are filled with things that are not going to, propel you. There are things that's really going to hold you down, weigh you down, bring your energy down. And those are things that you need to avoid as well. That's why New Horizons, above and beyond, I like that, trying to do more positive things and doing much better with that. And that's an intentionality. So you absolutely can change that narrative by thinking the opposite. So if you find yourself slipping down and, going back or reverting back to those negative thoughts, start to think about something more positive. Think about, the better side of it. Recall something good that happened in that same vicinity. If it's in a building that you're in, think about a happy moment there. And, that might sound real corny to some people. It might sound like a fairy tale, but you know what? It's real, it happens. And why not at least try it? If you've never done it before, if it's never happened to you, then at least try it. Don't discredit it. Don't put it down. Don't, push it to the side. At least try it. And you'll find yourself being more lighter. I'm not saying in pounds necessarily, but your whole energy will be lighter. You'll find that you have more energy to do more things, and you'll have more clarity. You'll be able to focus more on things that you truly need to focus on. And that's something that, occurs when people are just focused on what they don't want. They start to feel real lethargic. They don't have the wherewithal to make good decisions. They're not being creative in the work that they do. They are finding themselves always sleepy and just, not feeling well, and getting sick and things of that nature, because they're always mentally focused on what they don't want, and that's them really wishing more of it because that's what their focus is on. And it's amazing how some people outwardly can look like, oh yeah, butterflies and daisy flowers. They're just always so happy and they appear to be positive. They have smiles on their faces. They have great things to say to people, wishing them well, good luck, great job, things of that nature. But inside, it's not reflecting the same as what is being shown on the outside. And you might think, because maybe you aren't that type of person. Like, Coach Sherry, what are you talking about? How can you, look one way on the outside, but on the inside it's a complete opposite? It absolutely happens all the time. So they may be outwardly looking real positive, upbeat, but on the inside they are just brewing. It's like a pot about to bust open. And if they don't, it's important to have your internal thoughts and your internal self to match your external. It's so important. And again, the way to do it is to be intentional, not letting the things that you cannot control bring you to that point, not letting the things that people are saying, the things that people are doing, not letting that control you. Again, finding the joy in the things that you are doing, even if it's something that you don't want to do anymore. Trust God understands. You gave him your order when he came over, and you spoke to him, and you were like, listen, God, I want to do X, Y, and Z. He heard you, but you have to perform where you're at. Sometimes you're stuck where you're at because there's still lessons to be learned. There's just still lessons to be learned. And let me see. New Horizons is saying, I always say that there is hope. I'm talking about changing my first name to Hope because of the positivity of hope. I think that's beautiful. Yeah, and names are very powerful too. What you answer to, especially, is very powerful. It can be empowering or disempowering. What you answer to, I always say a person's name is the sweetest sound to their ears. That's why I really try, and it's challenging now because there's a lot of different types of names out there that can be tongue twisters. Even people that come into the chat and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I hope I'm saying your name right. But your name is the sweetest sound. And if your name, imagine if your name has a positive undertone to it, or just because it is your name, is part of who you are, you own it, it is you, then that is going to definitely, help make a change. And when people intentionally on purpose, and again, I'm not saying anyone's perfect. Names can be challenging, but when people, intentionally try to say your name wrong, um, I don't think that's a good thing at all. It's really interesting, but I always try to at least say their name right. Or if they have a nickname, I'm like, okay, what do other people, maybe what do they call you? Something that's a little easier, because this one is challenging. But I think Hope is a beautiful name. And I have another person on my team here on YouTube, Loving Myself, and I really enjoy when I see Loving Myself come into the live, because that name, when you say it, it just, if your energy is low, if you feeling some kind of way, saying Loving Myself is going to uplift you for sure. And that's how you're change. Okay. And see, the New Horizons Above and Beyond, you probably wanted people to feel some kind of way coming to your channel, and then having your content around that, just looking beyond and above the horizon, dare to dream. There's so much more that we can't see that is there for us. And we just have to believe and trust the process and have hope and stay hopeful for sure. And let's see, you're saying, thank you. Thank you for sharing me out. Yeah, it's good to be on a supporting binge. I feel like YouTube is definitely a huge networking platform, but and this is something I was sharing with another client of mine the other day about networking, how networking is a give and take. There's a lot of content creators on YouTube, probably millions, well, definitely thousands. I don't know exactly how many, but a ton of content creators that have been here, well seasoned, well established. There are some that are just starting out. And I feel no matter what level your channel is on, it's a give and take. So you have to give a little to get a little. You have to give a lot to get a lot. So going and supporting other channels and participating in their lives, leaving comments on their videos, sharing them out, giving them a thumbs up, subscribing, all of that. You want that for your channel. But guess what? If you want that, you have to give that. When you go to a live in person networking event, you don't just walk in and don't say a word to anyone. You're saying hello, you're meeting new people, you're having longer form conversations, you're staying connected, you're exchanging information so that you can continue the conversation on another day. And that's exactly what YouTube is. And so I see a lot of channels and I've seen them over the years. I've been not a content creator the whole time, but I've had my channel for 16 years. I'm Sweet 16 here on YouTube. And, so over the years, I've seen people grow. I may have connected with their channels when they were only at 2,000 subscribers. And I'm not saying only, but I say it in the realm of them because now they're at like 3 million subscribers. So I've seen many channels grow and thrive and be successful. And, I've seen their YouTube careers or their YouTube business pivot into all different types of directions and other businesses, which is amazing. But they become disconnected with their supporters. They no longer like comments, they no longer respond to comments, they no longer go live. It's a lot of things that they become disconnected with. And there's ways that you can still remain connected no matter how big you are. I think about especially like say a professional athlete that's on a big major stage, and you know they don't they well, I'm not going to say all of them, but they definitely try to stay connected to their fan base. They do things, maybe signings, or they definitely stop and greet or take photos with people that support them after games, before games, out in public, just different things. And that's important, to not be so out of touch with what got you where you're at. And that's the thing. Even in corporate America, even in, government, people get certain titles and they didn't start at that title. They had to grow in their career. But sometimes when people get into a certain position, they lose they lose focus, they lose sight of where they came from. And so the people that they've moved up above or whatever, they don't want to communicate with them, they no longer want to deal with them. They feel like they're, I don't know, too good maybe. But I hate that that part right there. It really works me because I'm like, I am not that type of person. And so, and I spoke about that I think earlier about how people just assume because you're at a certain level that you shouldn't even know certain people or that shouldn't deal with them, and that's not good. And so with YouTube being a social media platform, and there's many types of platforms in life, but with this being that particular type of platform, you have to still treat it like you would in real life, like you would if you went to an event, meeting new people, connecting with them, finding out who they are, what they are all about, checking in on them periodically to say, hey, and it doesn't have to be a long conversation. Just, hey, how you doing? Stopping by to say hello. And that's all you have to do. And New Horizon Above and Beyond is saying my channel is on a move big time here lately. That's good. And that's because of the work that you're putting in. Just, I would say don't burn yourself out because you don't want to do this for the now and not be able to continue it in some form of fashion. Because I've seen that too. Like I said, I've been on here on this platform for many years, and I've seen people go hot and heavy, with all their support and doing this and that, and every night, every day, throughout the day, supporting channels, doing this, that, and the other. And they grow and they continue to thrive. And then when they hit certain levels, they fall off. oh my goodness, New Horizons, I've seen them fall off. So I'm just like, just try to pace yourself. Don't burn out. You know how the algorithms work here on YouTube. YouTube is very fair weather fan. YouTube is a fair weather fan platform for real, because let you not post something for like a week or two, they will forget about you and on to the next. And that's why you have to keep your place in line and not go off to, the restroom or to get something to drink. You got to make sure you have all your things that you need with you, because YouTube will say, "Oh, you're not a content creator anymore. Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of new ones popping up. Let's go and push them out." So my goal is to stay strong and steady, and it may be a slow pace, but it's a pace. I would love it to be a little faster at this stage of the game. That's what I would hope. That I like ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, the waves, they come and they go. And so I would like to be on a wave right now, that a person that maybe loves to surf can ride on and really just feel the air flying through and just having a good time with it. But they're really moving. And I see movement also on my channel. And be careful what I wish for. I would love for the waves again to be a little quicker at this point. I understand there are times when the climb is quick and steady and fast and all that, and then there's times when you kind of in the shallows, you're just kind of wading in the water and just kind of, chilling. I'm not going to say you plateau, because you never reach the ceiling. It's just, you just at that stage of the game for a little bit. And then, at some other point, you'll propel forward again. And I feel like that's kind of how YouTube is. They kind of bring you up and then they pause you for a little bit, and you feel a little bit stagnant, not understanding what's going on, and then they push you forward again. So I'm looking for that first push. I really haven't had that first push yet for my channel. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And be careful what you ask for. So I'm going to have that push where, all of a sudden I'm just going to wake up one day and it's going to be a lot of people connecting to my channel, a lot of people truly vibing with my content. I like quality over quantity. So yes, one of the successes of YouTube is to have a large channel, a channel that attracts a lot of people. But I don't want the people that I attract to be one and done. I don't want them to connect to one video and never return again. I want them to continue to come back. I want them to take that business card. We're at a networking event. I want them to take my business card and reach out to me the next day. I want them to set up an appointment for the next week. I want them to continue the conversation with me beyond that moment. And that's what's going to happen with my channel. I'm going to have people here that are going to be connected and stay connected, and not connected just as like a money grab. There's so many people out here right now in business that are doing money grabs. That means that they're not really worth a quarter. That means that they don't have good quality products or services. That means that they're not truly SMEs, subject matter experts in what they do, but they're posturing themselves as such. They're basically imposters, and they are doing this to just get the money that's out there. And there is money out there, y'all. There really is. And I'm not just talking about social media right now. I'm talking about just in real life and in other arenas. And there's so many people that are out there just trying to grab that money, and fortunately for them, but unfortunately just for the industry, or unfortunately for the culture, they are making it harder for the real ones. And so, you have to be very innovative. You have to be capable. You have to be strong in who you are and what your offering is, and truly understand it like the back of your hand, so that, you won't get lost in the sauce or considered a money grab too. So with YouTube, I don't want people coming to my channel as just like a content grab or, a channel grab. Like I'm not down for the sub for sub. I really want to genuinely, authentically connect, organically connect with other content creators. And I've been very fortunate thus far to have those types of connections. I have those types of connections with so many different content creators, and I love it. It's very varied. It's a wealth of knowledge and experiences that I'm exposed to here on YouTube. And, it's really interesting. So, again, be careful what you ask for. And New Horizons is saying, we've been on here for 3 years going on September, and your channel is finally getting back to where it is. Okay, so that's good. So, just continue to pace yourself and don't give up. Don't give up. I know for me, my channel is legacy work. It's evergreen content. I want my content to live be well beyond me for generations to come. I was talking about this last night, how on one of the AI platforms, and I had typed in something that I was researching, and one of my videos popped up as a resource. And I was like, oh my goodness, like that was so wild to me. And so, that's the type of content that I want. I don't want things that are trendy. I mean, sometimes trendy is cool because it's in the moment, and it's popular, and it could be funny, it could be serious, it could be newsworthy, whatever the case. But overall, I want my content to be something that no matter what time of year it is, no matter where you are in your life, no matter your age, that you can find value in it. And that's my hope for my channel. So I just wanted to come on here and just talk about be careful what you wish for. I've just had too many examples in these past couple of weeks of people that have been complaining, people that have been disgruntled, people that have been exasperated by situations that they found themselves in, and or felt those that way because of things that were put upon them. And when help arrived, you put it out there, you asked for it, you didn't want it anymore. That's what you asked for, basically, that you didn't want to be in that situation. And when help came to change it for them, then they found themselves upset. So if you want to truly have happiness, ask for the things that you want. Be very specific, be very intentional, and the best will definitely come, because the universe, because God, because your angels are watching, listening, and so it shall be. So that's all I have for you. Remember, He carried the cross for you and for me. And practice every day. Practice so hard that when you get into play, you will always, always play to win. It's been my pleasure chatting with you. I appreciate you all for tuning in. You could have been anywhere and you said, you know what, Coach Sherry's live. Let me stop on through and see what she's talking about. So I appreciate that. Be careful what you wish for. Have a good evening. I am Coach Sherry.